How's it going, softball fans here at Westview High School, where the Wolverines just knocked off number 3 ranked Poway in the county. Unbelievable job, Danielle. How does it feel that you just knocked off the number 3 team in the county?
Honestly, it feels amazing. We didn't do so well in the beginning of the season, but it really shows that when you put in hard work and a lot of effort, it pays off in the field.
Starting pitcher today, you went against a pretty tough lineup. You got girls going to Stanford against the other team and UCLA. How tough was it pitching against Poway today?
I was a little nervous at first, but once I had my team backing me up, so I wasn't that nervous at the end. I know that we all came together to prove what we could do, I guess.
Started off strong, only gave up 2 runs, and then they brought in a relief pitcher to close it down. How confident were you that she was going to get the job done today?
So confident. We pitch back and back together all the time. I've been with her since 3 years ago, and I knew that she was going to get the job done no matter what.
Not only you pitched today, but you did an unbelievable job at the plate. You got a couple hits, including that clutch RBI to give you guys the lead. Ended up, being the deciding factor today. Going into that at bat, what was your approach?
My approach was just to hit the ball. I mean, I knew I believe in myself, and I know that I'm that I can hit when I do what I'm supposed to do. So I just had to place it where no one was, and hopefully someone would score.
Got the base hit, beat Poway. Okay, you got a couple wins in a row. You beat your rival, Mount Carmel, and now Poway. What does it mean, to get a couple wins right here in battle right now for league?
It means the world to us, especially being a senior and coming from open division my freshman year, and we did move down a few divisions, but still proving our worth and that we can come out strong in the end.
What do you guys got to do to not get overexcited about this game and focus on the next game?
Definitely keep practicing hard. At practice, all we do is work pretty hard. We don't really have a lot of days off here, so even during the weekend, we always used to go hit or field or do something just to get ahead.
Danielle, thank you very much for joining us. Be sure to check out Westview. They're new team on the rise. Just knocked the number 3 team in the county, like I said, and they're doing an unbelievable job as they get ready for the playoffs. How's it going, softball fans? Adam Paul, Brains Brennan here for another edition of the Softball Podcast. We were at Westview yesterday, but some crazy technology things happened, and our podcast actually got deleted. But we were still able to catch up with Danielle Erickson. Unbelievable job by Westview yesterday. Let's try to get real quick a recap of what happened in that game as Westview defeated Poway last night 5-4.
Yeah, Danielle Erickson, she was a warrior in the face of adversity when, Colleen Sullivan bombed her 13th home run of the season. They didn't flinch, didn't fret, and they held on to pull off the big upset over the Titans.
A couple of big players in that game, like you said, Colleen Sullivan, 13th home run of the year, leads San Diego County. Also, Sydney Steele, Stanford commit, went 4 for 4 yesterday, and was even put in some bad situations at the plate due to a couple of controversial calls, but she was able to battle through it every single time and get hits. 2 great players at Poway that are going to do great things in college. Sydney Steele at Stanford and Colleen Sullivan at UCLA. Let's get into our top 10. Let's talk about some of the great teams we have here in San Diego. And let's start with the teams receiving votes. There's a new team that's in there, and then there's a couple teams that just kind of dropped out of our top 10. So the new team that's in there is Brawley, and we saw that they beat Santana last week. What can you tell us about the Wildcats?
They're a scrappy team out of the desert, just like any of those desert teams, Southwest El Centro, Brawley, Imperial. Don't underestimate them. Like I said, they beat Santana 3-2 in 8 innings. They won on a Sultan Air, and they ended up pulling out the victory.
So that's a team to be worried about in the Imperial County, and then as well as like you said, Southwest El Centro, who actually beat Brawley this year, and they're also another powerhouse team. And it's always tough, to make that trip out to the desert and get a win. And we discussed that and made our picks like that. And Adam Paul was the crystal ball, if you will, of last week. So that's the new team receiving votes. The 2 other teams that were in it that just dropped are Eastlake and Rancho Buena Vista. They have a pretty inconsistent season this year, just all over the place, beating good teams, losing to bad teams, and vice versa. So they just dropped out, but they a couple wins and they'll be back in. Let's get to the bottom half of the top 10. Bonita Vista at 10, back in the top 10 after being in the top 10 earlier this season. Then we got Olympia in the first time in the top 10, Mission Hills first time, Santana, and then Mater Dei. What can you say about a couple of these teams in the lower half of the top 10?
Well, Mission Hills, like I said, they up and down. Ari Quinones and crew, they're another scrappy team. They just got to come every day. Bonita Vista, same thing. They play down that tough league down the South Bay. Everybody beating up on each other. Santana, same thing. They play in the Grossmont Hills Leagues, which to me is the second toughest league in San Diego. They coming off 2 straight losses, so they'll have to regroup. But yeah, you know.
And, Santana's been all the way up to 3 a couple times in our rankings, and then that loss to Brawley kind of hurts with a couple other losses mixed in. Let's get to the top 5. Granite Hills is back. They're finally back in the top 10, and they bumped all the way up to 5 after a pretty good week last week. Then you got Claremont moves up to 4, Poway, San Marcos, and Cathedral Catholic still the top 3. And then we made these rankings before last night when Westview beat Poway, but I don't think it's going to change too much. What can you say about Granite? You've watched a lot of Granite games. They kind of struggled early in the year, but now they seem to be on a roll.
You know, they've won 8 games in a row. They're, as been told, on fire. If you want to call it that. Their pitching is starting to come around again. They're hitting. They're catching on fire in the right time of the season. The last 2 games they've won in the 6th inning. So they're the cardiac kids, if you want to call it that. I know Coach Curtis Barnes. He's always got the heart attack waiting to happen, as he says. But that's all right. They pull out the wins with, like I said, with the strong pitching and defensively. They've had some issues a little bit, but it hasn't cost them yet. But like I said, they're still one of the better teams in the county.
So let's real quick breakdown. It's been pretty even with the regions of the county in the top 10. You got 3 North County schools, you got 2 city schools, 2 East County schools, and 3 South Bay schools. It's not including the receiving votes category, but pretty overall even year this year. There's a lot of teams all over the county that can make some noise. Let's talk a little bit more about Cathedral and San Marcos. They had a big weekend this weekend. San Marcos beat Norco 3-2. Norco was the number 2 team in the country. Going into last weekend. San Marcos is number 10 team in the country. And then the other team that's nationally ranked here in San Diego is Cathedral Catholic, where we are right now. And they're 17 in the country. They knocked off 27 in the state ranked Huntington Beach 5-0. Megan Faramo, 7 innings pitched, 3 hits, no runs, 9 strikeouts, and then a 1-for-2 day with a double and an RBI against Huntington Beach. And then Maddie Helms went 2-for-3 with a run against Norco for San Marcos. Alexis Orozco had 2 RBIs, including the go-ahead RBI that you said yesterday. And then Peyton Tidd, 7 innings pitched, 3 hits, 2 runs, and 8 strikeouts. You were at the San Marcos-Norco game, so you can give a better description than me. It was a weird atmosphere. It was an interesting game, but overall, San Marcos pulled out on top, and what a great win it was for the Knights.
Yeah, the game was played at a neutral site at the sports complex there on the property of Paula Casino, right across the street from them, up the ways. And, the game was going along, and all of a sudden they stopped the game, and everybody's like, okay. And I thought maybe there was bees or something, having, worked at Grossmont College. And so... But I was told there was a funeral procession happening, and I was like, okay. They stopped the game for about 15 minutes, and they went back and played. And San Marcos made a little run there, pulled within a run, and then they stopped the game again. And then this time, the actual funeral procession actually occurred across the street, and you could see the little parade happening. And they were told, okay, either it's going to take about 30 to 45 minutes. They can wait. Or they could play the game, but they would have to play under absolute silence, a.k.a. The golf atmosphere, which was really interesting because if you've ever been to a softball game, you got the chants going along, you got the crowd in it. I mean, just everything.
It's like the loudest sport out there in high school sports is softball, and even youth sports, all the chants, all the crowd going going crazy. But what a crazy game and a crazy atmosphere. But again, San Marcos able to pull it out.
And just the fact that when Alexi Orozco ended up hitting the game when he hit, and everybody really didn't know what to do. And so that made it even more interesting and pretty phenomenal that everybody was so disciplined not to go, yell and scream, basically. So, yeah.
I can't. When you saw that you posted on Twitter, I was just like, what? I'm sorry, what? But yeah, that's crazy. It probably never happened ever again. Who knows? But interesting game. But San Marcos Norco, besides that, was a great game. And you look at the stats. How exciting would it be to watch Peyton Tidd go up against Megan Faramo in a pitcher's duel in a potential game in the playoffs? I can't wait to see that. We'll see what happens of the matchups. But let's real quick before we get on a tangent, because we could talk about that forever. Let's get to the games we picked last week. I went 4-1, which is a pretty usual week for me. But then Adam Paul went 5-0, swept house this week. His main pick was Brawley over his Santana Sultans, going against his former high school and East County altogether. As far as the games we picked, we both picked Mission Hills to beat Del Norte. They did. We both picked Olympian to beat Otay. They did. Both picked Cathedral to beat Carlsbad. They did. Both picked San Marcos to beat Mission Hills. They did. And then I picked Santana, being the fool that I am, and then Adam picked Brawley. So that's how it worked out. I'm 10-4 in the year. He's 9-5. But let's get to next week's picks. And there's a lot of good games in the South Bay. Real quick, let's get to the Metro Mesa standings. There's 3 teams, and this was happened yesterday. So there's a couple games that happened yesterday that might change it. But as of yesterday, Olympian was 4-1, Mater Dei Catholic was 4-1, Bonita was 4-1, tied for first in the Metro Mesa League. Right behind them was Eastlake at 2-3. All those teams are playing each other next Tuesday. Bonita Vista at Olympian. Bonita Vista beat Olympian the first time out. How do you think this time is going to go?
You know, having just watched Olympian play Otay Ranch and their stud pitcher, Sydney Sandez, and what she can do, I think they have a really good shot at beating Bonita Vista next week, honestly.
So you got the Eagles?
Yes.
I also have the Eagles. I think they're hot right now. They're playing good. They're playing good ball. You know, they started the season off a little slow, but now they seem to they got everything dialed in and they're doing well. The other big game, Mater Dei Catholic and Eastlake. Mater Dei Catholic just beat Olympian last night, so that probably affected the standings a little bit. As far as that game's concerned, again, the injuries are the girls are back for Mater Dei, and they seem like they're playing like that. They had a little hiccup against Scripps Ranch last week, but I'm still going to take the Crusaders over Eastlake. Eastlake's just too inconsistent right now, and they can't even. They're trying to buy a win right now.
Yeah, got to go with the Crusaders. Coach Mike, he's gonna pitch Lexi Sosa, big game. That's when it counts, and got to go with the Crusaders because they got the hot bat right now.
Another interesting league that has a lot of parity this year. It's the Palomar League. Mount Carmel Poway. Mount Carmel at the beginning of the year was 8 in our rankings. They were doing really well. They actually were beating Poway for the majority of the time. The first time they played them, and then last week they lost to Westview and they lost to Rancho Bernardo. And I know Westview beat Poway last week, so maybe Westview's on a tear. But that's an interesting matchup. Is Mount Carmel going to overcome the mental mistakes they made last game in order to beat Poway this time?
Well, considering that we just watched Poway lose to Westview, and talking to Coach Bennett before the game, he was like, the season's just been one of those seasons where anything can happen, and obviously we saw what happened yesterday. Does Mount Carmel have a shot? Sure, but to be honest with you, I'm gonna go with the Titans. They'll be looking to get back in the winning way.
Poway had they had an overall bad game. I think it's safe to say that wasn't their best game. And no disrespect to Westview because I think they did an unbelievable job yesterday in winning that game. But Poway, it was not a characteristic game for Poway, and they still almost won the game. I think they're going to have a chip on their shoulder to play Mount Carmel. Mount Carmel's been reeling right now. They lost 2 in a row, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm going to take the Titans as well. The other game, let's get to city game, Mission Bay at La Jolla. Mission Bay 16-4. La Jolla's 12-8. Mission Bay actually beat La Jolla 11-1 the first time they played. That being said, I'm going to take the Bucks.
Take the Buccaneers as well. Cassidy West, she's is only a sophomore, the super sophomore, pitching really well for the Buccaneers. Can't go against her. She's doing really well, and that's why I think Mission Bay will pull out the win.
Okay, last game we got here, Adam, is West Hills at Scripps Ranch. Interesting matchup. You got Scripps Ranch and West Hills, pretty similar caliber teams. West Hills has beaten some teams that they shouldn't. Not say they shouldn't have, but some upsets that of their own. And same with Scripps Ranch. Scripps Ranch beat Mater Dei. West Hills plays in that tough Grossmont League out there in East County. That being said, I'm going to go with the City League. Big surprise here. I'm going with Scripps Ranch, my hometown. You can go ahead and I'm assuming you're going to pick East County, but who do you got?
I'm going to go with the Wolfpack. Coach Applebaum, he's got those girls. They always play a tough schedule. I got to go with the Pack. They beat Steel Canyon the other day 5-1. Terrific pitching along with their defense and timely hitting got them, got that win. Got to go with the Pack with Carly Bursch, Haley Velez and company. So, yeah, go with West Hills. And
the East County guys continue to take in East County. I'm going to take the City League teams where I played and know well. So a little bit of bias here, but when the picks are working, they're working. So you got to pick with your mojo, and that's what we got. Let's get to our shout outs. McKenna Macias is my first shout out. Junior at Torrey Pines. She's got 30 RBIs on the season, which is second in the county of San Diego according to Max Preps. My other one is Bailey Olavison of El Cap. She has one of the best fielding percentages in Softball out here in San Diego County, she's got 1,000% fielding percentage. She doesn't miss a lot of balls, so hopefully I didn't just jinx her, but she's a gold glover to us. And then Julia Folk, junior of Scripps Ranch High School, catcher out there. She's got an 80% caught stealing rate, which is incredible. Leads the league, or leads all of San Diego County in that. You ain't running on Julia Folk. Who do you got?
My three are, first off, Sydney Sandez out of Olympian. She tossed a no-hitter the other day, like I said, in which she struck out 9 batters against Otay Ranch. She's also going to Utah. And in that game against Otay, she lowered her ERA to 0.71, has 83 Ks and 78 2/3, 8.4 on the season. And she's also on the Mexican national team. And it's not just her; it's been a family affair for that. For the Sandez family. Both her mom and her aunt played on the Mexican national team she told me when I interviewed her after that game. So that's pretty cool.
International softball in the family. That is so impressive. Especially with softball, because softball there's not necessarily a professional league.
Yeah.
That's your pro league. That's like having 3 people in your family play in the National Football League or MLB. Hopefully Ari Quiones can join her on that team. We have a nice little San Diego connection with Team Mexico for softball.
The next one is a kind of a triplet. The triplets out of West Hills for their big win against Steel Canyon the other day. Alyssa Bubar, Haley Velez, and Carly Bursch, who pitched. Against Steel Canyon, Bubar went 3 for 4 with a run and 3 RBIs, a double and a triple. Velez went 3 for 4 with a run, 2 doubles, and also Bursch went 7 innings, only allowing the 1 run while still striking out 9 in the 5-1 win over Steel Canyon. And my final one goes out to not a player or person, but a team. San Marcos, the Knights. They hit 3 home runs yesterday for a grand total of 43 now on the season. They broke the all-time San Diego CIF section record of 41 set by Carlsbad back in 2011. So congratulations to the Knights. And there's still more games to play, so they can add on to their all-time record total.
Which is impressive. You had another record yesterday, if I'm not mistaken.
The other record, as we were talking about yesterday, belongs to the Cathedral Catholic Dons, who today. We don't know what the score is. Assuming they will win, take on the Point Loma Pointers in a Western League game. The Dons, who went into today's game with a very impressive 33-game winning streak in the Western League. It's tied for 6th, and so with their win today, I'm assuming. I mean, come on, I don't see.
You never know. We thought Power was going to win yesterday, and don't pretend like you didn't think they're going to win yesterday, because the meeting yesterday was Powell's going to win this game, and we're going to interview the Power girls, and it's going to be fun. Yeah. And then Westview didn't ruin our plans, because we loved that Westview won, and great to talk to Daniel Erickson. But we're not saying anything's given until the final score is put on.
Yeah. So if they win against Point Loma, they'll move into a tie for 5th with Christian. From 91 to 94 in the Harbor League, and also Hilltop of the Metro League from 93 to 96. By the way, the longest winning streak, in case if anybody cares, for all-time CIF San Diego section is 53 by Vista in the Avocado League from 1974 to 77. So obviously you can see how hard it is to have a winning streak in your league.
Especially with how competitive these leagues are and the parity in these leagues and how great the softball is down here. So many records this week. You got the Cathedral's record that they could potentially break this afternoon. San Marcos is breaking records. You got Colleen Sullivan last night. Not really a record breaker, but she now leads the county in home runs with 13. Unbelievable.
She's up there in the top 10 for the season here in the San Diego CIF section. She's actually pretty close. I believe the record is like close to about 20 or so. For the season, so she's still got games left. So I mean, she bombed one yesterday, so who knows?
She hit it over 2 fences yesterday.
Yeah.
Does that count as 2 home runs? It should, because that ball was absolutely hammered. Yeah. But hopefully you guys will be able to see this one. I don't delete it mistakenly, because it just happens. Okay, it just happens. That's why we're at Cathedral today, and not.
You want your shout outs. Please coaches, players, fans, whatever. Please put your stats on Max Preps, because we love talking about the girls all around the county and giving the shout outs, because these girls work hard. They need they deserve the recognition and everything. All right.
Or direct message on Twitter at @B_SERP or EC Sports for Adam, and give us the stats that way. It doesn't matter. We just want to make sure we give out the shout outs that are due. So for Adam Paul, I'm Braden Suprenant. from Cathedral Catholic High School this time because I screwed up the thing. We'll see you guys next week on the Softball Podcast.